awoken? Well, among those viewers was Mohamed Hijab, the controversial pro-Palestine influencer with nearly 1 million YouTube subscribers of his own. Here's what he had to say about it.
Oh yeah, it was really. Okay, let's watch the hour-long one then. I was gonna watch the hour-long one. I'm gonna watch the ambassador one. Hold on. Yeah, I was gonna watch the hour-long one. Okay. Maybe Hijab responds to things that she said, so maybe worth doing. Hijab is a fire starter. I love that. This conversation needs a fire starter. Okay.
I'm Piers Morgan, Uncensored Tonight. Shani Luke was the young tattoo artist whose kidnapping became a powerful symbol of
no
Hamas's
captions, fuck it.
brutality. Her mother thinks she could still be alive. She'll tell me why, and I'll innocent people.
Okay.
Oh, fuck it. What's the timestamp for the Israeli ambassador? Solid debate technique. Bazias passes narcissism, all paths rhetoric to an untenable degree. He ain't gonna. Well, he's gonna come back from the whole AI burned baby AI image.
She was really
more than that. That I can't hold my husband.
And there are so many. There are hundreds.
Yeah, she's alive. She's getting hospital treatment, but she's alive. But this is the thing. I'm not saying there aren't victims and hostages. There are. But the reason they picked this woman is because she's got a face for television. She's the pretty white girl. Oh, these filthy, like I said in my tweet, these filthy, you know, back when black men could get done for just looking at a white woman. You know, back in the day, if a black man looked at a white girl or door of some fucking, you know, cotton farmer owner or whatever it is, you know, like they would get lynched. It's like that. It's like the pure white, beautiful girl out there, and these filthy ethnic savages living in caves, beheading babies. Like anyone believes. If beheading babies was in Hamas's MO, they would have done it 20 years ago, or 30 years ago, 16. This whole beheading babies thing, it's bollocks. And they literally released videos showing, look, we have hostages, but we're not beheading fucking babies. Alright, let me just quickly get to the...
It's a horror movie.
Ricardo, it's beyond a nightmare. I can't, like I say, last weekend, I'm very grateful to you for joining the...
People are now kept hostage in Gaza. And
is she the ambassador?
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I'm joined now by Israel's ambassador to the UK, Zippy Hotovely. Ambassador, thank you for coming in. It's heartbreaking.
It is.
Just to hear one mother. I mean, and there are so many. There are hundreds and hundreds of...
Just 199 of the people are now kept hostage in Gaza, and I'm thinking about young children, thinking about a girl that has autism and she's disabled. I'm thinking about Holocaust survivors.
Don't do the Holocaust thing.
We've never experienced anything like that as the Israeli
You can't equate the
people.
two, man.
Experience wars, we experience terror attacks. Never.
It diminishes the Holocaust, if anything.
Since was established, we experienced anything that was as barbaric, as dishuman, as...
Where were you when you heard what happened?
I was in Israel. I was staying at my parents-in-law's house, and 6 o'clock in the morning when the first alarm came, we woke up, and I think it was 8:30 when the second alarm came in a small city next to Tel Aviv, and I told my husband, this is serious. And from an instinct feeling, because of the sirens going up and down, I had a feeling something really bad came up, and I turned my phone on Shabbat, and I realized this is a war. And I want to tell to everyone who listens and follows Israel.
I want to act shocked, but this conflict's been going on
such a
my whole life.
Event that every country should protect its people. I mean, you said it in your great opening, and I want to echo that. This is one of those moments in a nation's life that a country cannot carry on without providing the very basic obligation that every country has to its people. We need to protect our children. We are out there in Gaza, not in order to revenge, not in order to punish. I don't agree with any of those definitions.
It is partly that, though.
Let me just say why we're doing that. We're doing that to make sure that my children, my friends' children, and every child in Israel will be protected. After we've seen what happened to our border, after we've seen what those barbaric terrorists from Hamas came in and they beheaded babies.
They didn't behead babies. There's no fucking proof for them beheading babies.
We saw in the Telegraph, wrapped in
this is rhetoric,
those
man.
bandages. I mean, this is something breaks the heart of every parent, and you cannot see that.
I get Israel's side. I get Israel's side, but they don't need to do this. It's been going on for 57, 60 years already. You don't need to do this. You need to press Bibi to fucking do a peace solution. Recognize Palestine.
And the horrific photographs and everything documented by Hamas, the fact they put children together and burned them alive, the fact they wanted to choke people in their homes by putting them on fire, those type of barbaric actions. And I'll tell you more than that. After identifying, unfortunately, 1,300 Israelis that were brutally murdered, the people were recognizing the bodies. They said 80% of the bodies being tortured. And our president just exposed a booklet that basically showed that it was part of their way of action, that they wanted to torture the people. It was part of their terror actions, raping innocent young women, taking hostage a Holocaust survivor.
Dude, if they raped women, they're going, it's a sin. Like, I know some of them don't care about the religious aspect. They're just bloodthirsty and want to fight. I get it. Hamas ain't the ideal solution, but they have nothing else. What else do the Palestinians have? These extremists who are victims, or are husbands or sons of victims. What do you do? The Hamas are made up of all victims who want revenge. What do you do? They're not bringing them in from Iran, sub-recruiting them. Yeah, let's loan out our Hezbollah fucking guys.
This is really...
I saw the footage of that woman who'd survived the Holocaust being taken away, and all I was struck by was she was completely calm. She was staring ahead, and she wasn't giving them a second of her own feelings in that moment. I thought that was just extraordinary, given what she had obviously gone through as a young person.
But let's join all the international community, including Prime Minister Sunak today in Parliament, that said all those people kept in hostage must be released now. And I think this is Israel's demand, and this is one of the aims of this.
Their demand as well.
Is to bring them back home.
No, I agree.
It's Hamas' demand as well.
Let's also not be afraid, as the BBC is seemingly afraid to do, to call this what it is, an act of terror. These are terrorists.
I think we were very vocal about what we think about it.
What do you feel about the BBC refusing to call them terrorists?
So I think if the BBC stands for accuracy and if the BBC stands for the truth, it's very simple. I mean, this is what terrorism is, and you cannot find any better example of terrorism. So I really think everyone should call it by its name.
They don't have time to torture, that's the thing.
And I think one more thing we need to
Israel
say,
giving Gaza a time frame to
Israel
evacuate.
In one of its, I would say this is not an existential threat, but this is a war on existence, because we cannot exist if our children cannot be safe in their homes. So
Israel has decided,
exist.
and people will absolutely understand.
We've acknowledged Israel.
Hamas has got to be eradicated in the way
the Palestinian Authority has recognized Israel. It's Bibi that don't recognize Palestine.
It also involved a lot of innocent people getting killed on the way. Clearly, in what is coming now in Gaza, a lot of innocent people on the Palestinian side are going to die as well. How many is too many? And I don't have the number. I just talk about this debate about proportionality. I'm struggling to see what is proportionate that meets the scale of what happened last weekend. Let me make that clear. I don't have the answer here. But there's a fine line that Israel is going to tread between doing what it can to get the hostages out, paying back, revenge, retaliation, whatever you want to call it for what has happened.
I call it defense.
Okay.
I call it
defense. Oh yeah, call it defense.
Whatever you call it, obviously that's
You've been
part
doing
of the
this
motivation
without the pretext of Hamas.
And ultimately you want to get...
Israel has been doing this without stuff like this without the pretext of Hamas. We call it defense now. People only think that all this shit's been going on for the last 4 or 5 days. Palestine don't recognize it, but Hamas doesn't, and they're the ones with power. They're the ones on the front line, boots on the ground, because the Palestinian Authority don't want to endanger fucking people.
Hamas are embedded with civilians, we know this. So the civilian death toll...
They don't, you know what it is? We've already seen accounts. They don't want another, what's the word? Not Nakba. maybe it's Nakba. They don't want another resettlement. They don't want Hamas doesn't want people leaving Gaza, and they said this because they don't want Palestinians to move from their homes again and have Israelis come and resettle their areas. They don't want it. Every time this happens, Israel uses the pretext to push in further and further and further and further. They have to move away. Where do they go? Where do the Palestinians go? Do they need to just fuck off back to the 1967 fucking borders?
Very high. And the question for the international community is, at what point
stick to your trees?
The moral ground, which I think Israel has at the moment, because of
Cunning, as Muslims, we're supposed to uphold our treaties. If we have an agreement with an enemy state, in the Quran it says you uphold your treaties. You treat them with respect. If they treat you with respect, you uphold your treaties. But we're not obligated to deal nicely with treaty breakers, people who break their peace treaties or truces or pacts. There's no obligation. If they keep breaking it, keep pushing forward, don't listen to the Oslo Accords, don't go back to the 1967 borders.
The scale of what happened last weekend, at what point could you risk losing that?
So first of all, Israel is a moral country, works according to the international law, and according to the international law, we are allowing all the Palestinians to go to the south area of Gaza in order to make sure they'll be safe, including creating shelters for them with the international community organizations to make sure they will be safe. The only thing...
let me ask you on this.
Just one second, let me just finish. The only thing that stands as a barrier from those Palestinians to get into a safe place is the fact that Hamas is preventing from its own population to get to a safer place because it doesn't care about its people. He's using international support, not in order to give them, as you said, water and electricity, but actually in order to fire on Israel. And as we speak, you know, everyone is talking about this horrific massacre, but sometimes we forget that fighting from Hamas carries on. As we speak today, Parliament being evacuated, the center of Israel being bombarded by those rockets, and we keep having over 6,000 rockets just in the last week. So think about it. It needs to have electricity and all those manufacturing. What do you think supports that? So it's Hamas basically taking from its
population. Why don't her fat ass try to flee and relocate with kids in the war zone?
So
blame Hamas.
I hear you.
Blame Hamas.
I hear you. But I also heard you this morning saying there's no humanitarian crisis here. By any definition of a humanitarian crisis.
Let me explain that.
That is happening. I mean, you may apportion blame to Hamas on your side.
Let me explain.
I don't think you can deny there's a humanitarian crisis.
Let me explain that. I'm a woman. I'm a mother. I have a sympathy for any innocent child, any innocent person in the world.
Everyone's a mother. Everyone's a daughter.
People. We want to target the militants. We want to target those terrorists. We want to target the facilities, the capabilities. This is what we want to do. And the reason I said that, because at the moment, in Gaza, you have supplies of water, you have supplies of food, and unfortunately, wait a second, some of it being abused.
Some say the water has run out in many areas.
And I want to explain why. 90% of the water in Gaza is not supplied by Israel. This is like a myth. Israel has just 10% of this. 90% of it is based on their aquifers, and they're doing that by using machines. And the machines basically need electricity. They're being abused as
the same thing with BBC. Are you a mother? I'm a mother.
Hometown.
I understand
and this is what happens. So
dude, the stats don't lie.
I understand.
10 times as many Palestinians have died in this
war is blaming Israel for what it didn't start it.
I'm not blaming Israel.
No, all I'm saying is...
this is the real Israel coming out.
Last weekend means that there must be an unprecedented response.
Exactly.
I think any country in the world that suffered what Israel suffered last weekend would launch an unprecedented response. I understand that. But I also understand in my modern history that after 9/11, America launched a series of unprecedented responses. It invaded Iraq, which I felt at the time was an illegal invasion. That caused ISIS to grow in huge amounts of power and then kill many, many people. Afghanistan was a huge mess and continues to be a mess and is now back in the hands of the Taliban and so on. There's not a lot of evidence that a big invasion of a place like Gaza will do anything other than potentially...
They keep saying our retaliation is a terrorist retaliation, that there's no righteousness in it. It's not always a terrorist retaliation. Retaliation isn't always of the terrorist nature.
The perfect alternative. But going back even for British history, I mean, you don't want to go back to American history by attacking Mosul and killing so many civilians. And I personally think fighting
You
ISIS
met her
is
once.
a justified cause.
Bloody
because
hell.
ISIS didn't do any good for,
No, I agree.
for
I guess
civil
in a
society.
place
And going
like
back
place
to
like
your
Israel,
own
everyone
history, in the
eventually
time
knows
of
everyone.
Nazi Germany, you knew that there were many civilians got attacked from your attacks on German cities. Dresden was a symbol, but you attacked Hamburg, you attacked other cities, and altogether it was over 600,000 civilian Germans that got killed. And was it worth it in order to defeat Nazi Germany? And the answer was yes.
Let me ask you this.
So it's the same for Hamas. Was it worth it? Was it worth it to defeat Nazi Germany?
We definitely give them an alternative and a place to find a shelter. And we are trying to minimize casualties because our target is just to remove Hamas from our border
I understand.
in order to have my children to
I
sleep
understand that.
peace and quiet in their bedroom.
I understand, but it is also true that nearly 3 times as many Palestinians have died in the last week than were killed in the outrage on October.
More than 10 times in the whole
That number can go
conflict.
much
So
higher.
this is exactly why I think it's unmoral equivalence, because those
Are you kidding me?
got killed in
Unmoral
Israel,
equivalence?
children, women, and men were brutally targeted and murdered in the most barbaric
I
way.
agree with
no,
you.
No, but the people got caught in a crossfire in Gaza are people we didn't want to kill. Some of them are terrorists. You need to remember that. And we are targeting
Most of them
those
aren't.
cruel people that are based in schools, based in hospitals. And according, by the way, to the international law, Israel is allowed to launch a military attack every time there is a place that puts Israelis in danger, which it is. The facilities of Hamas are based in civilian
But do
facilities.
you feel, you talked about being a mother, a parent.
These people are right wing. That's the thing, though, Kanye. Like, generally speaking,
with the innocent
they are
Palestinians
very
who are
right.
getting caught up in this.
Absolutely. I mean, my thoughts are to every single individual.
even your
that is
domestic
caught in a
policy.
war zone. Now, but you need to understand, every country has first and foremost responsibility to its own
I'm not
people. So
surprised.
if Israel will fail to defend my children and other people's children, like we've seen those parents that had to, be in a shelter.
This is the thing I said, Kakani. Unfortunately, if no one can prove to me, if no one can prove to me that this is not the populist Jewish opinion, I know there are Jewish people that are against Zionism and against the encroaching onto Palestine and all that. I know there are Jewish people, but no one's shown me any proof that this is not the populist. You know how they do surveys? How many British Muslims condemn the attacks in the Europe? Whenever a terrorist goes, how many condemn? 60% don't condemn it. Those kind of polls that they come out with, right? Giving me proof that Bibi and his cabinet and this view and about Israel and about occupation is not the populist view of Jews.
One of their
Then I'll change my tune.
Executed. I mean, those are
horrific.
things. Those are things that are totally horrific. So when this is the reality, you need to understand there was a misconcept of the understanding that Hamas can be a tiger, can live by you. No, this tiger, it went out of the cage and it did what it did, and it's a barbaric action.
How do we get to peace after this?
So that's a great question.
It's on it, Bibi.
You cannot have peace. I mean, this again.
You cannot have peace. She's just spinning Bibi's line
of negotiation with this type of barbarism that is based on jihadi ideology. Hamas charter to annihilation.
There's nothing jihadi about this. There's no, on our side, there is no, it may seem like that because Muslims support Palestine. But for the Palestinians who have Christians there and Muslims, it's not one of theology. It's just their right to exist and not live in an open-air prison. A fucking blockade for the last fucking 2 decades. That's the main impetus. Maybe there is this sentiment that, yeah, it's a Muslim versus Jew thing. From our side, it's not the case. Even the Palestinian Authority said, I'm for a 2-state solution. He was even for a solution where we all live together in one state, where everyone has equal rights.
Of Israel and total destruction. So it has no political vision. So we need to have, from the other side, we need to have people who want to live peacefully with Israel. We've seen the Arab World opens the gate to Israel. We've seen the Abraham Accords. We've seen Saudi wants to normalize with Israel. I believe the future can be better without organizations. And this is why Israel is fighting this war, by the way, for the West as well. This is not just Israel's fight. This is the Western world's fight. Just like you had your attacks in 7/7, the Manchester Arena. It's the same type of ideology.
West's fight.
People. We need to fight it together.
It is inarguable, finally, that before this attack, the plight
What happened to foreign entanglement? What happened to the crowd, the conservatives who proudly go anti-foreign entanglement. We will not be entangled with foreign proxy wars and blah blah blah. We look after our own people. What happened to that, America? What happened to those people, those conservatives that were properly against war, foreign entanglement, sending aid across, all that shit? Even Trump is more moderate on this. Even Trump's words on this conflict have been more moderate than fucking Biden's comments.
Palestinian people in Gaza was completely unacceptable. Many will see the control that Israel has wielded in the last week as evidence that it's an unhealthy control over the people of Gaza and indeed potentially of the West Bank as well. My next guest will certainly be arguing that very strongly, that until what they see as the oppression of the Palestinian people is properly dealt with, that there will always be this kind of, I mean, you can call last weekend what you like. To me, it's a disgusting abomination. But there will always be angry people in Palestine wanting to break out of what they see as oppression. What do you say to that?
Let's just check the facts from 2000. Actually, Gaza was the case study for how the world will look without Israeli control on Palestinian area and territory. 2005, Israel withdraws to the international border, and people believe that Gaza will become a Middle East Singapore. And look what happened. So actually, it's the other way around.
What?
From 2000 to 2005, Israel
Gaza will become Singapore. What are you talking about?
Any territorial demands from the Palestinians. Instead of turning Gaza to a flourishing city, they took all the international support, and there was massive support, and they took it to build this underneath tunnel city. It became a terror city, an evil city. We saw the results, and it's ugly.
They live underground. They behead babies. They're like the locusts from Gears of War. What is dehumanizing language? This is dehumanizing language.
Who should we blame for that? Israel doesn't control the Gaza Strip since
But
2005.
is Israel blameless?
I would say that Israel, after
It's not blameless.
I would say Israel, no country in the world is perfect. But after 2005, you need to blame the effective control of Hamas that abused the population, that kept on using all the international support just for one cause.
It's dehumanizing language. Live in caves, goat herders, live underground, monsters, blow themselves up. It's all dehumanizing. At least anti-Semitism is fucking flattering.
On Saturday, there are
like, I'm sorry this offends people, but the kind of anti-Semitism is almost a flattering form of thing. Like I said, overachievement. They run the world. They run Hollywood. Damn, you're overachieving. That's a compliment, fam. You're so capable and so smart and intellectual that you get to run the banks, you get to run the world, you get to you hold gold and silver because of the trade of your forefathers, the Goldbergs, the Silvermans, the Silver Steel. You know, like it's flattering form almost. But the kind that the Arabs get is the filthy, dirty, underground dwelling monsters. Like, she's saying they built this underground city. They took all that money that was international aid, built these underground tunnels, dirty tunnels, underground, black market. It's just dehumanized language. This is the Gaza Strip we're fucking talking about.
And we need to support Israel in this justified fight because Hamas is bad both to Israelis but also to Palestinians.
Ambassador, thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you very much.
And just going back to what happened last weekend, it was horrific. And when I saw that the instant reaction on the streets of this capital,
us San Negroes, we get caricaturized as monsters. It's not the flattering kind of discrimination.
I was revolted that was happening.
We get branded as groomers, pedophiles, sex rings, monsters.
And it's been disgusting.
We don't have the stereotype that Scandinavian people have. Or the proud tribal African
next,
warrior.
I'll take on the controversial pro-Palestine influencer, Mohamed Hijab, who'll be listening to that, and I'm sure will have some questions of his own.
I mean, yeah, I agree. It's used both ways. When they're trying to dig on the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
CDKeys.com. Shop the biggest game releases of 2023 at the best prices. Immerse yourself in epic adventures, intense battles, and breathtaking worlds.
She's talking about a city under the ground.
Games across PC,
like with some rats,
Xbox,
scurrying
Nintendo,
rats or some shit. The hell? Okay, yeah. There needs to be a little bit of a break. But even if I'm wrong about what I just said, Cunning, they use dehumanizing language about the Palestinians when they get really heated and they're trying to rile their base up. They always use dehumanizing language for Palestinians.
5 million people have watched that interview.
There are quotes. I can send you the quotes directly.
This conflict has awoken. Well, among those viewers was Mohamed.
Calling the mums snakes, and we need to wipe them all out so that more snakes aren't born. These are innocent women living in fucking Gaza.
Do you think Piers Morgan, on fair grounds, would try and speak to me about an issue like this? Or Ben Shapiro, when they know what I'm going to come with? Absolutely not. Don't pretend you don't know who I am. You've been watching my videos. You know what I'm about.
They do watch his videos.
And your cowardice is apparent.
Well, Mohamed Hijab joins me now. Mohamed, thank you very much for coming in. I hadn't actually watched your videos. I have now. I've watched a few of them. I'm aware you've got a massive following. You've got nearly 1 million YouTube subscribers. You're an influential person, and you have a lot to say about this issue.
He's ready. He's ready.
Thank you for coming in, but I'm not too cowardly to talk to you. I don't have a horse in this race. I think I've tried to straddle a divide of being fair-minded with all sides. I've had all voices on.
I agree with Piers that he has been trying to be fair.
To be honest, for bringing me on, but do realise I did caveat that with unfair grounds.
Yeah,
this interview is conducted.
I intend to be completely fair.
Yeah, sure.
I promise you, because all I want to get to here is a real sense of what is going to happen. We can all look back at. We can all look. Let me just. We can all look back.
Before that, Piers.
Yeah.
Sorry, if you want to say fair grounds, you introduced me as a Palestinian controversial.
I actually corrected myself.
Right, so
I said pro-Palestinian. I meant to say pro-Palestinian.
So why did the word controversial come into play?
I think you're controversial.
So are you.
Yeah, I wouldn't deny
So is
that.
the ambassador. Why didn't you introduce her in that manner?
Oh shit!
I'm happy to say that to many people, her views would be controversial.
So why didn't you introduce me as the Oxford graduate?
Do you want to be introduced as that?
Yes.
Okay, for an Oxford graduate.
Go ahead.
Okay, no problem. You can be introduced as anything you like.
It's a
frankly.
boxing
It's
match.
to the debate. Let me ask you this: where were you when you heard about what happened on October the 7th?
I was at home.
What was your reaction when you heard?
I was actually very sickened by it. And this is something I do want to put on the table because I think it's fair for people to know this. In our religion, we do not believe, okay, as a Muslim, I am a Muslim, and I do not believe in the killing of any man, woman, or children, non-combatants. That is not despite the religious teachings. That is because of the religious teachings. So in terms of condemning Hamas and just jumping straight into it, I condemn not only Hamas, but any other entity, okay?
Simple.
Wherein it's proven that this has been done, that the killing of combatants has been done. Therein, I condemn any party that does it. Any party that kills people or strikes at people where it's more probable than not that it will hit a civilian target, I condemn them. And that's why I condemn the IDF. Because when they strike, they know that it's more probably than not going to hit civilian targets. They know that the majority of civilians, or the majority of people that are going to be affected, are civilians. We know that from the various operations that have been conducted. We know that because now in Gaza you find that there is a blockade, as you know, for 17 years, but also they're stopping them from electricity, water, which is a war crime under Geneva 4 of the Geneva Convention, Protocol 4 of the Geneva Convention. So this is something I'm surprised you didn't actually mention to the ambassador. But
I did mention it.
You didn't say it's a war crime.
Well, I think it's an arguable point whether it's a war crime.
Okay, let me ask you now.
They are saying Israel.
Okay, his context,
They
nice.
are not breaching war crimes, right? It will be determined.
But if we could,
well, it will be determined whether that's the case.
No, sorry.
What is it?
That's
Mohamed,
incorrect.
Mohamed, let me make a point to you back on that. I think surely we can agree that what happened on October the 7th was a war crime. I mean, when people are taking grandmothers and executing them, kidnapping young children.
They just condemned it already. Why do they keep bringing it back to this point? Taking the context out of everything.
Okay,
Condemned it.
Surely, of course, 100%.
Right.
But babies in the crib, sorry, what's the evidence for that?
You don't believe that happened?
Sorry, CNN, the White House, Sky News, which you work for, all say something.
I don't work for Sky News.
Well, your thing.
I did work at CNN. I saw one reporter who retracted it because she wasn't sure about the source.
It's unconfirmed by the White House.
But then the Daily Telegraph and the Jerusalem Post and other sources then did publish pictures,
CNN,
which indisputably show babies have been killed.
No, it showed one baby who's been charred, and that picture has been put up on Twitter and has been refuted by many people saying that it's actually AI.
That's completely untrue.
That is true. What's your source? What's your source?
There's been a thorough investigation into the claim that was put up there by some rogue person on Twitter that it was AI. AI. It has been completely disproven.
Okay, let me ask you
that
a question.
picture, which was published
What's
on
your
the
source?
Telegraph,
What's your source?
is a genuine,
What's your
legitimate
source?
picture.
What is
Look,
your source?
Are you seriously arguing that
Yes,
babies
yes.
weren't killed?
She's
No, I didn't say that.
putting them on the
What are
back
you
foot.
saying?
I'm saying, give me a source.
Yeah.
You know full well you've been fired from the Daily Mirror for fake images. So you know full well about the
I didn't accept they were fake.
exactly the UK government.
Dude, I've never seen.
Because the UK
I've never seen Piers this
Sure,
more.
sure.
had waged, in my view, an illegal war in Iraq.
So you're allowed to go against the government,
Hang on.
and I'm not allowed to go
No,
against the
no,
Israeli
no.
government.
Of course you're allowed to.
So tell me now, what's the
You
source?
seem to be making a lot of presumptions about me, Mohammed.
Yes,
I
because you
was
had
the-
Piers made conspiracy theories up against the government that they killed Diana.
The ambassador.
He ain't got no
I was
leg
in
to
the
stand
Daily Mirror
on.
when we opposed the Iraq war
Sure.
on the grounds that I believed it was an illegal war.
Yeah.
I still believe that to this day. I think
Good.
it stained this country.
Fantastic.
I don't think you even knew that.
I did know that.
Right.
But that's not the point I was making. I was making the point that if you're allowed to go against the government in their classification of an image, then if you have pro-Palestinian activists who are saying, actually, we need to see a source, shouldn't they be entitled to
The
that?
Daily Telegraph published on page 3.
Should they be entitled
the
to that,
picture
yes
you're
or no?
talking about, the Daily
they be
Telegraph
entitled to that, yes or
said
no?
they had independently verified
they be
the
in-
picture, Mohammed.
No, excuse me.
If you're saying that their
Primary source
verification is
material.
wrong...
No, excuse me. Primary source in academia, I know you've done a journalism degree, which is, frankly, is not relevant to what we're talking about here anyway.
Probably is to journalism, yeah.
No, it's not to this conflict. But we academics require primary source evidence in order to make it.
The Daily Telegraph said.
Source evidence?
The Daily Telegraph said they verified the picture.
That's a secondary
Fine,
source.
you may say
that's a secondary source.
You may say
That's a secondary source.
Well, you may say you don't think it's genuine. I don't agree with you. But the wider point.
That was my point.
But
I
the
said
wider
I want
point,
a source. I just want to
Mohammed,
see
I
the
don't know what we're
evidence.
arguing about here. You're not contesting that babies were killed.
No, I'm saying I want to see the evidence.
So why are you picking on the semantics of the veracity of one picture,
It's not.
which has been verified by British journalists? Why are you picking on that? as
British journalists are
some
not an
example of
authority.
somehow this wasn't as bad as it seems.
British journalists are not.
But were they killed? Were they collateral? I'm not saying collateral's better. I'm not saying collateral's better. I'm sure if they were gonna mow down innocent civilians at a rave, if there were kids or babies there, they would have got harmed for sure. I don't think Hamas go and say, we're gonna snatch a baby, we're gonna behead, we're gonna do. Was it? I'm not saying collateral is better or worse. I'm just saying, were they collateral as part of the conflict, or was it like premeditated?
What I'm saying to you is this: putting this issue to the side, I think you're trying to use this as a red herring to move away from the
What
bigger
red
issues.
herring?
This is a red herring because already 1,023 children have been killed in Gaza. That's why. And you didn't ask the ambassador that question.
I
did you?
literally asked the ambassador.
No,
I said 3,000 people have already been killed in a week
Sure,
in Gaza.
but you didn't ask her whether
did you even listen to my interview with the ambassador?
I did listen, but excuse me.
Well, don't put words in my
No, hold
mouth
on.
or say I didn't ask a question.
Let me ask you a question. Do you condemn the killing of those children by the IDF?
I tell you what I condemn.
You didn't answer the question.
I'm going to answer your question honestly and truthfully.
Sure.
They're never gonna
Because I
condemn
tweeted
Israel.
about this, right?
Oh, okay.
I think that what happened on October the 7th was one of the worst atrocities I have ever had to read about or watch on
It happens every day in Palestine.
No, no.
So why do you care about
The
that?
Nakba was worse.
It does actually, yes.
No.
Was it 48 or something?
I've got the stats for that. if you
Israeli forces do not go...
Cast-led,
Wait a minute,
protective
Mohammed.
edge. Go and check it out.
Mohammed, Israeli forces...
want. Cast-led, protective edge.
Israeli forces don't go into Gaza on one day and grab grandmothers and kill babies in their
excuse
beds.
me. Okay.
And
No, hold on.
rape and abuse women.
So, rape, is there any evidence for that?
It's been multiple reports
No,
in
no, no,
multiple
what-
mainstream
by whom?
media publications.
Whom?
Well, you're going to sit here and deny everything,
No,
right?
no, I'm not denying anything.
You are.
No, I accept that some civilians have been killed. I do accept this. And I already said
You
I
don't
think-
believe any of the reports that women were raped?
No, I didn't say that. I said that it's still to
Well,
be
do you
verified.
think they were raped?
No, I don't know. It's like the Russell Brand thing. You said you don't know. You see the evidence. So why do you apply two different
not.
standards?
I'm saying it's been
by the way,
reported-
when it's Israel, we know they're raped. When it's Russell Brand, you don't know because you're friend.
No, it's been reported by legitimate news
When
sources.
it's Israel,
which
you
I
know they're
believe-
raped. But when
which
it's
I
Russell
believe
Brand,
have
you don't know.
verified them.
When it's Russell Brand, you don't
It's
know.
double
Comparison
standard.
between Russell Brand and what's happened
It's the
here.
same thing. It's a rape allegation. Why are you stuttering?
I'm not stuttering.
You are stuttering.
Dude, look at him. He's a
Contesting
pussy
every
right now.
single thing that I'm saying.
Yeah, that's
and I'm
the
saying
point of
to
an
you,
argument.
at the end, 1,300 people
Yeah.
were brutally
2,000
murdered,
people have been killed on the other side.
abused.
2,000 people have been killed on the
I
other
said
side.
that to the ambassador.
Okay, but do you condemn that, yes or no?
I don't think.
So you refuse to condemn?
No.
You do refuse to
Why
condemn?
are you putting words in my mouth?
Because you're not condemning it, are you?
What do you want me to condemn?
Condemn?
Israel's
Okay,
right.
excellent. What do I want you to condemn?
Yes.
I want you to condemn the fact that the IDF, knowing that it's more probable than not, pressing buttons from the sky, killing innocent civilians,
Yeah.
1,000 of them children, that is a war crime and that is not acceptable morally. Just like you condemn the other one. Is it condemnable? Or
I
not?
believe, given the scale of what Hamas did on October the 7th,
He's interviewing
Israel is entitled to
kill
defend-
children.
No, that's not what I said.
Go ahead.
They're entitled to defend themselves with force.
Okay,
Then
excellent.
the question becomes, Mohammed, it's an interesting debate.
Sure.
If, as it seems to me, you believe too,
Go on.
Hamas are not a force for good, do you believe that?
Well, I think that anybody who kills children and those elements of Hamas who are killing children...
Right, so we can
are not-
agree. So we agree. So
go
my
ahead,
point
finish
is,
your point.
if Israel's purpose is to rid the world of Hamas after the atrocity of October the 7th,
Sure.
how do they do that, given that Hamas embeds itself in civilian areas in the way that it does? Everyone knows that in Gaza.
Okay.
How do they do that
Excellent.
in the surgically clean way that you seem to think
Yeah.
they should be doing?
Okay, can I say-
How do you not kill civilians?
Beautiful. Can I
I
answer-
don't like any civilian death.
Do you mind if I answer
I
the
don't
question?
endorse any civilian death.
Well, no,
Do
you
I
don't condemn it, though,
Hang
do you?
on.
Yeah.
No, and here's why. Because I support Israel's right to defend
Okay,
itself.
beautiful.
Now,
Can I say
no,
something?
No, one more point. So then
Go
you
ahead.
can reply.
Sure.
But the question then becomes, what is proportionate?
Okay.
What is a proportionate response?
Okay.
I don't have the answer.
Excellent.
Because I don't know what a proportionate response to 1,300 murders is. When 260 young people at a music festival, most of them peace-loving people enjoying themselves at a festival, when they get slaughtered by people
there any
paragliding
evidence all of them
in
were
with
killed?
machine guns, I don't know what the
See,
proportion
the thing is, for me, I'd go one better. I'd say I don't differentiate between settler or visitors, right? All of their lives are equally worth. They have equal worth. The woman they parade around, that they parade on the news now, the one with, you know, half dressed, you know, the pretty one. She's a German Jew. Apparently, well, she's like a I don't know if she's a citizen, but obviously she came to that rave. She's from Germany, right? Something like that. So it doesn't matter to me if they're settler or not. It's the fact that, yeah, they gunned them down.
Piers, let me respond to
So
you.
can you tell me?
You've spoken for about 2 minutes.
It doesn't matter to me if it's settler or not doing it.
You're saying fair.
Dual citizen,
But
that's it.
you're not being fair.
I've said what I
Okay,
want to say.
so let me paint a picture.
I will be fair.
Oh, sure.
I'm genuinely interested in what
Fine.
you have to say.
All right, excellent. You're from Irish descent. You know that there was an IRA
Yes.
in Belfast and so on. Okay, so let me ask you a question now. If there was IRA in Belfast and they were occupying council properties and so on, and then we have a plane of RAF going to destroy that council property, destroy all of Belfast, flatten it, as one representative said, Gottlieb. The IDF said that. One of the IDF members said that we will flatten it completely. That's what we want to do. We don't care about accuracy, he said. We care about damage. That's what he said. You didn't question her about that. But anyway, if the RAF were to then go into Belfast and flatten, as the IDF and these guys want to do, if they want to flatten Belfast with all the white people, I'm going to use the term white, all the white people, council estates living in there, with the excuse that we're doing it because it's proportionate defense to the terrorists. What would you say about that?
Here's what I would say to you.
Is that acceptable or unacceptable?
Here's what I would say to you.
Yeah.
The IRA committed a series of atrocities over numerous decades. They targeted, in their eyes,
Yeah, but she was right there.
targets. They usually gave some form of warning.
If he's quoting someone,
They
were terrorists.
more often than not, they've been exactly as he said them.
Went out one day and committed the barbaric slaughter of 1,300...
Irrelevant.
No.
If they did, if they
I'm
did.
sorry, it's
if
not
they
irrelevant.
did, if they did.
No, Mohammed.
If they did.
Here's why it's not irrelevant.
Okay.
They never did.
But if they did,
They never did.
would you accept
And by
the
way-
RAF to flatten
and by the way,
Belfast?
there were outrages committed by
My question is,
by the
if-
loyalist paramilitaries too.
my question is,
Here's my
if
point.
they did, would you think it's acceptable
They
or
never
not?
came close to committing an outrage
If
on that
they-
scale.
If
right?
they did, is it acceptable
They
to
never
flatten
went
Belfast?
in and kidnapped grandmothers or killed babies
If they
in cribs.
did, is it acceptable or not?
They believe they were fighting for better or worse, and I believe for worse,
Sure,
and that's
sure.
why I'm glad peace was found.
But I'm
They
asking
believe
if
they were
you're not
fighting
answering my question.
political and military
I'm
targets.
trying to bring it closer to home to
You're
you.
trying to compare apples and oranges.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
It's you that's doing that.
The only comparison that I would say that we saw from October the 7th and what Hamas did is with ISIS.
Excuse me.
It's the only comparison
Do you mind if I...
that
Let
bears
me ask you a
witness.
question. Let me ask you a question. A Palestinian...
And ISIS were taken
Please
out,
let me
by the way,
finish.
with
You keep
with
interrupting
planes.
me.
No, here's
They're
what...
back now, apparently.
I'm going to finish.
ISIS are back in Sweden, apparently. You have Israeli adverts that are playing on YouTube. I could show you if an Israeli ad played on YouTube right now, they're putting children's ads on YouTube right now. And in They're calling Hamas ISIS now. They're putting the ISIS label on anyone and everyone right now.
So Ben Shapiro, you gave the show to him.
No, hang on. I'm giving you plenty of time.
No, you're not.
I'm giving you plenty. You asked about the analogy of a plane flying over and targeting.
But you didn't answer my question.
But that did happen, Mohammed, with ISIS.
Would you accept Belfast to be flattened
wait a minute.
or not? Yes or no?
Wait a minute. It never happened. So the like for like isn't
relevant. It's a hypothesis. It's hypothetical.
It's not. I don't do hypotheticals.
You don't do hypotheticals?
No, let's deal with reality.
Okay, let's deal with reality.
Mohammed, let me finish. Then you can answer.
So you don't answer the question.
No. Here's the reality.
The British public can see this.
Here's the reality, right?
Let's
yeah, they can see it.
Yeah, go on.
They listen to the debate,
keep going.
right? For what it's worth, I think it's a good debate to have. Right? These are questions many people.
So answer it. Answer the fucking question. Then.
I get it. Right? But you're trying to compare what happened on October the 7th with the IRA.
No, I'm not. I use the hypothetical
wait a minute, Mohammed.
question.
I'm comparing it to ISIS. And the way that the world in the end dealt with ISIS actually was to use airstrikes. And many civilians were killed.
There's a huge difference
many innocent
between the
people
two,
died.
which you're not,
They're not.
You don't understand it because you have no idea of the religious
What's the difference between what happened on October the 7th and ISIS?
The difference between the Palestinian resistance is the following, okay? Any kind of thing which has Palestinian resistance attached to it, and ISIS, which is a brand of tekfirism, okay, is that ISIS is just one of many brands of tekfirism, which you don't know what it is, which is a kind of excommunication type heresiological Islamic sect, okay? So if there's
it's nihilistic mass murder. That's all they care about.
Listen, I know what you're saying, but I'm saying something else.
You agree with me, don't you?
I do, but of course I do, but you're not understanding what I'm saying, so I'm trying to break it down.
I am understanding what you're saying.
What I'm saying is that anything...
And I'm not anti-Palestinian, by the way.
Sure, Piers, but...
Over the many years, if you bothered to check what I said about it, I have always tried to shine a light on the plight of the Palestinians.
Allow me to speak, please, because you're just talking over me. The difference between the two are the following, right? Even if we assume that the killing of combatants in most definitions of terrorism is something which brings someone to be a terrorist, okay? I would say that if that is the case, then the state of Israel breaks that threshold and meets that condition. Because why is Israel not a state terrorist? If their highest officials are admitting that we want damage and not accuracy. Answer me this question. Why is the state of Israel, who are illegally occupying Gaza and the West Bank according to international law, and even the ICJ said that, okay, which is, as you know, an organ of the UN, all right? So this is international law. They're occupying, they're seizing, they're bombarding, they're indiscriminately killing, and they're blocking the supply lines. They're using white phosphorus. They're doing what you call mowing the grass, which is every few years, they're killing the Palestinian people. I want to understand what differentiates an Israeli in the sky pressing a button, killing the civilians, from somebody in any terrorist organization shooting the people. What differentiates it?
Israel will say it has a right to defend itself.
So will the terrorists? Right? That's what Osama bin Laden said.
And they will.
That's exactly Osama bin Laden's argument.
No, it's not though.
Yes, it is. I read his fatwas.
I read his fatwas. Hamas aren't defending themselves. Bin Laden wasn't defending himself.
Define defense.
Bin Laden was trying to kill as many of the enemy as possible.
Let me ask you a question. How could it be that an occupier is defending itself in the first place? The notion that Israel is defending itself is as absurd as the notion that the rapist is defending itself from the victim. Because Israel is the occupier.
Yeah, what part of this don't they understand?
Excuse me, let me finish. Just let me finish.
They are objectively an occupier.
International law definition means that they are already in an offensive posture.
Answer me this, Cunning. Why don't you go back to your borders? Oslo Accords, the agreements. Why do you guys not go back to your borders? I'm gonna ask you this. I don't know how clued in you are about what BB. Why don't you just go back to your borders? You know, India and Pakistan don't get along, but they get along even with the Kashmir issue. They get along a damn sight better than this. Why don't you guys just go back to your 67 borders? Why do you have to have a blockade around Gaza? You think moving back will just push you back and back and back? Palestine, Hamas don't want chunks of where you live. They don't want chunks of Israel. They just want you to go back to your borders. You know? Why does he keep blocking? Why does Bibi not recognize Palestine? I want to ask you this before I play. Why does he refuse to acknowledge them? If we're just talking, if the ideal solution is the Palestinian Authority, taking control of this and curbing Hamas. It still lies in the camp of fucking Bibi to acknowledge Palestine. Currently, the only reason it's such a blocker is this aggression. Yeah, but this aggression is a consequence. Is a consequence of Israeli encroachment into Gaza and the blockade. And like you said, mowing the lawn. Every couple of years, just mow the lawn, keep their population scared and fucking hungry and starving and fucking in terror. Hamas said years ago they're fine with 67 borders. Yeah, Hamas, they're fine. The Palestinian, he had Barghouti on. He had yesterday or the day before yesterday, Piers had Barghouti on. And Barghouti is in constant communication with Hamas. And Hamas are down for a two-state solution. They just want them back to 16. Why does your guy Bibi keep blocking it? And why does the second in command, I forgot his name, in Israel, why does he go into the UN with a fucking map and start saying we're going to annex this place, annex that place, and we're going to resell this place? Why do they keep stoking the fire? The ideal solution is two-state, but it'll never happen as long as there are terror regimes control. The terror is a symptom of the you encroaching in. We can't even bring people to the table. BB, by the way, is not my guy, by the way. Okay.
In an offensive posture, if someone brings you to Piers Morgan, grabs you by the thing, throws you into your bathroom, yeah? You're in your bathroom, you're screaming, and they're eating food, having a good time. One day you come out of your bathroom, you try and fight one of them, who's defending who from who?
Mohamed,
How can you self-defend when you're occupying? Answer me this question.
Let me speak now.
No, but answer the question.
Let me speak.
Answer the question first.
Fine, I'm going to speak.
Yeah.
Let me answer.
Yeah.
I believe that Israel's made a number of bad choices.
That's not answering my question.
Wait.
I thought, before I say this, I thought sometimes he does this. Sometimes Mohamed does this. I thought Hijab was going to come on and do his white man voice and posture and make himself look how he is, contrary to all the videos he does, where he's like very butch and masculine. He didn't do that. So I genuinely believe that Hijab is like sincere and genuine.
I'm telling you what I think.
You don't answer my question.
Telling you what I think.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay? I don't think Israel's been perfect at all, right?
You said they had the moral high ground.
I think a lot of the decisions Israel's taken are wrong. I think Benjamin Netanyahu, by the way, his attempts to usurp the power of the Supreme Court this year in Israel has been a complete disaster.
Do you condemn them from killing civilians or not?
I do not. I will defend them this week.
Yes or no?
Wait.
Yes or no?
I will defend them this week in defending themselves against one of the worst terror attacks ever.
So you can kill civilians for that?
You can target Hamas.
Can you target? No, hold on.
And if Hamas, the controlling, governing, ruling body in Gaza, hide amongst the public,
this is a false.
Members of the public will die.
You're talking about fallacies. This is called the Moat and Bailey fallacy, which is that you're trying to defend one controversial idea by using another. It's Moat and Bailey fallacy. You can check it up on your own time. The point is this. I'm not asking you whether Israel has a right to defend itself. We've already said of the logical and legal impossibility. The logical and legal impossibility of an occupying power, according to international law, of actually defending itself because it's already... Let me finish. It's already in an offensive posture. Now, I'm saying this. If it is the case, you're just saying it's defending itself against Hamas. Is the only way to defend itself against Hamas by dropping bombs in the most densely populated area, one of the most densely populated areas in the world? Is that the only way? It's a false dichotomy. You're creating a false dichotomy.
Okay, I'll pause. Hold on. I'll pause. No, I'll pause. It's fine. It's fine. There won't be ads on the archive, so... Yeah, I went back. But nobody cares. It's almost like nobody cares about Palestinians. They just refuse to condemn Israel. I haven't heard an unequivocal, unambiguous condemnation, unequivocal condemnation of Israel. They just don't do it. It's like Israel run everything. Maybe saying Jews run everything is racist and generalization, but as far as I've seen, Israel run everything. They're running all these YouTube ads. YouTube have allowed them to flood the algorithm with their ads. Flood. Usually it's catered advertising. You have a setting. The ads are catered to you. I know that because of humanitarian reasons, their ads take precedent. But these ridiculous ads, and nobody wants to condemn Israel. Even if you believe they're right or wrong, it's weird how everyone is singing the same tune. completely the same tune on this. The Dems are singing the same tune. Conservatives, Shapiro, Alex Jones, Piers Morgan. These people aren't in a conspiracy. I don't believe for a second these guys are in a little cabal. But it seems like the people that pay for their shows, bankroll their shows, have this interest. It's like Israeli interest. Like they have a horse in the race. Piers says, I have no horse in the race. But he just refuses to condemn Israel, even if you think that Israel is right or wrong. All right.
For that.
You can target Hamas.
Can you target? No, hold on.
And if Hamas, the controlling, governing, ruling body in Gaza, hide amongst the public,
this is a false.
Members of the public will die.
You're talking about fallacies. This is called the Moat and Bailey fallacy, which is that you're trying to defend one controversial idea by using another. It's Moat and Bailey fallacy. You can check it up in your own time. The point is this. I'm not asking you whether Israel has a right to defend itself. We've already said of the logical and legal impossibility. The logical and legal impossibility of an occupying power, according to international law, of actually defending itself because it's already... Let me finish. It's already in an offensive posture. Now, I'm saying this. If it is the case, you're just saying it's defending itself against Hamas. Is the only way to defend itself against Hamas by dropping bombs in the most densely populated area, one of the most densely populated areas in the world? Is that the only way? It's a false dichotomy. You're creating a false dichotomy. They can do surgery. They can do insurrection. They can go in and they can target.
We're going to take a short break. I'm going to keep you here. I want to finish this. I want to give you the time. I think it's an important debate, an important conversation.
Sure. But you have to answer my questions.
I will.
I do respect Piers. I think Piers just won't, because of his friends, he won't condemn Israel. But
you can ask me as many questions as you want, but I'll tell you what I think.
I've answered all your questions.
We're going to take a short break. We're going to come back and we're going to finish with a few more minutes, okay?
But I rate Mohamed Hijab.
This file's massive.
You have to press people on this.
Remember, now you've...
This is why Israel has become numb to Palestinian casualties. They use the excuse that we can't attack Hamas without attacking people. So we don't want to hamstring ourselves by worrying about women and children, blah, blah, blah. Then they create this narrative that Hamas hide behind human shields, and they set up their bases beneath fucking hospitals. They've almost they've turned Hamas into this nebulous group, like it's not full of victims of this regime or this occupation. There are kids growing up who've seen their mums and dads blown up, who are radicalized now to join Hamas. The Hamas is made up of the victims. You can say, oh, Hezbollah's interest and funding them, blah, blah, blah. But a man does not lay down his life under an illegal occupation, you know, and does the things that they say they're doing, which I don't believe all of which they're doing, and not have a fucking deep, passionate fucking hatred for their occupiers. You do not fight this bitterly if you don't have at least a reason to fucking do it. You ain't gonna have dumb idiots running. They're not like ISIS. They're not those idiots like fucking ISIS who are fucking twisted and warped and fucking like monsters and savages. It's all my last word on this is it's in Bibi's court. Palestine has no control over their fate. Hamas is always going to be this loose cannon thing, but I feel in terms of concessions and things that could be done to alleviate this, it's in Bibi's court. Bibi's just so fucking hardline. It's completely hardline. The only reason is because I was in the north and dealing with Hezbollah. Because it was in the north dealing with Hezbollah. Okay. Alright. We bring other people into this conflict and it just totally it becomes about beheading babies, it becomes about Iran, it becomes about US foreign policy, it becomes about anything but a bunch of people who have a legal occupying force on them. there are objective qualities to this conflict. If you take out religion, Islam, Judaism, you take out right-wing politics, left-wing politics, you take out all this history, objectively, they are being occupied by a thing. Why can't just people break it down into its simplest terms? Fucking idiots.
Welcome back to Piers. It says, well, Mohamed Hijab is still with me. Mohamed, we've had a lively debate. I knew it would be a lively debate. This is a very important issue. It's a passionate issue. People on both sides. You know, if I tweet about anything, doesn't matter what I say. One side, if I'm even remotely sympathetic to them, the other side, poor abuse and vice versa and so on. Let's try and cut through it all and get to what happens here. How do we find peace in the Middle East? I've been covering Israel-Palestine since I've been a journalist, 3 decades. And it seems to me we're as far away now as we've ever been. How do you think we get to a place of peace? You'll be surprised.
Look, even Hamas, some 4 or 5 years ago, they even agreed to the 1967 lines, the borders. And what you have to understand, that this cannot be scapegoated on Hamas, because before Hamas's existence, this was still going on. This was going on before Israel's existence.
But do you believe in a two-state solution?
No, I believe in... Look, even Hamas was proposing a two-state solution.
But do you believe in it?
Look, there's advantages and disadvantages. This is a different... I don't know. I mean, it's a difficult one.
Could you imagine 2 states next to each other living in peace? Palestine, Israel.
Look, it's a possibility. I mean, as I say, even Hamas was saying that that's a possibility. I mean, this was 4 years ago. But what I want to bring to your attention is that nothing can happen if the international body or the UN becomes a toothless agency. In 2018 to 19, when actually 221 people were killed on a peaceful protest in Gaza. It was called the Great March of Gaza. 220 people died. Hamas didn't shoot a bullet. No rocket was launched, yeah? So 220 people died, and this is even mentioned by the UN and these kind of agencies. They tried to bring it up, the Palestinian Authority, they tried to bring this up to what we call the ICJ, which is part of the UN, okay? What happened is the Donald Trump administration, they threatened to freeze the assets of the ICJ, which tells you the following. What are the Palestinian people to do? Because the fact of the matter is, if they try and bring it up...
Let me ask you...
let me finish the point. Let me finish the point. If they try and bring it up...
We're running out of time. That's why I'm jumping in.
If they try and bring it up to international law, it's thwarted.
I do think
international
law matters.
Sure.
I just don't believe that any peace can be achieved with Hamas in charge. Do you?
Before Hamas...
Now, after what happened last weekend.
Forget about last weekend. Last weekend is...
Can't forget about last weekend.
No, it's not. Before last weekend, before Hamas in 1987, this was still going on.
But not on this scale. And
worse.
No, it wasn't as bad as this.
What are you talking about?
What happened on October 7th
sorry, that shows ignorance
was
of
the
history.
single worst assault on a populace system.
No, that's not the single worst assault.
2,600 people died, by the way. 1973. That's false.
In one day?
In one day, I don't know, about 600 people died in one day.
Mohamed, I've got to leave it there. We've run out of time. I gave you more time than I planned to. Sure. I hope you appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you coming in. Thanks. That's it from me. Tomorrow I'll be joined by Dylan Dennis, whatever you're up to.
Get the last word, at least.
Good night.
Did you know what shocks me most is I've lived with these journalists most of my life. Like, some of these journalists I know have covered Israel versus Palestine. Because my mum was always watching BBC News all my life, and I used to see these guys, Piers. I used to see, when he was at Daily Mail writing about stuff, I used to see some of these BBC journalists and that kind of thing. The only reason BBC journalists are changing their tune now is because you can literally find fucking archive footage of them recording the Israeli attacks or atrocities. So they don't want to be, caught with their hands down their pants, you know what I mean? Give your views, Ryan, Kaiser. I mean, Kaiser's with us. Ryan's with us. Cunning's fair. He's been pretty fair on this. Donald is with us. I'm not here to like I want to know what the Jews feel about this. We're constantly being asked to condemn and be like, do you hold these guys to account? I'm like, yeah, of course I don't agree with women and children being slaughtered. I don't agree with it. These are loose cannons. They need to be held to account, arrested, whatever, court-martialed, whatever. But then I want to know the Jews side of things. Is this a populist opinion that Israel is the master race? God promised us this land, so it must be ours. About the Zionism aspect of it. Like, I need a Jewish person to sit there, like Hijab is sitting from our side, and say, look, we ain't down with this fucking shit. We ain't down with the Zionism. We ain't down with capital. We ain't down with this kind of thing. But you don't see it. You just see rabbis, or people I think are rabbis, just with their little placards. These meek, 3 or 4 meek fucking rabbis on the side. You know what I mean? If we Palestinians don't have the power, we don't have the power, Britain doesn't have the power, then it's on you guys, man. At least do what you can on your side. If you want us to curb Hamas and tell them to like fuck off, Hamas, you'll ruin this for us. But that's our problem. They don't refer. You're referring to Orthodox communities, which are minority. Yeah. I don't know. Is BB what to you guys what Trump is to America? Would you say that's accurate, Cunning? Unfortunately, they have a leverage in political affairs because they are part of BB's coalition. Okay. So it's like Trump and his white Christian evangelical base, and BB and his Orthodox rabbinic base. And most people who live in Israel annoyed the hell out of them. Okay. So he is your Trump. So if you can say that, then why can't people bring this up? Objectively, Israel is a genocidal settler colonial apartheid state that needs to be completely destroyed. Zionism is racist, anti-Semitic, and essentially another version of Nazism. Yeah. Fucked up. At least what I heard, 40% of the world's Jews are concentrated in Israel. I don't know whether that means 40% of people who subscribe to the Jewish faith or ethnically Jew. So or have Jewish ancestry like you Cunning, or, but that's a lot of Jews who definitely agree with BB.
I am a surgeon.
I was having this debate with Ryan. I just want the Jewish community to say this ain't right.
I am a surgeon.
You can have your homeland. I told Ryan that as a Pakistani, it would be hypocritical of me to say that the Jews aren't entitled to a homeland. It would be hypocritical. Muslims from India wanted a homeland, and they were given Pakistan. And we managed to hash it out, even though we fucking hate the colonial British and all that crap. We managed to have a tenuous sort of peace, right? So I don't want to begrudge Jewish people a homeland. But then you got this hardline motherfucker, every administration, and just pushing. You know what I mean? Something has to give. The terrorists ain't gonna give. You label them terrorists, they ain't gonna do nothing. Watch the Twitter vid. DM'd her. Let's watch this Twitter vid. Please stream earlier, but you're sitting there playing fucking FF14 till... Sorry, I messaged Tenru in my links and... Copy link. Okay, let's watch this. I don't know what this video is, Cunning, so... Don't log in.
Because you denied them basic rights. I lived there. It was apartheid. It was racism. It was endemic. It was rotten. Absolutely, I was shocked within weeks of living there to see how you treated Palestinian people.
I think I know this Irish MP.
That the law of return, which is the basic law of the Israeli state, is a racist apartheid law because it confers rights on Jews that it denies.
There's no video though.
It allows, for example,
there's just this.
Jewish and had never stepped
It's
forward.
audio only.
I could claim citizenship there tomorrow, but 6 million people.
Oh, it's at the bottom.
Origins are in what you now call Israel.
I know this video.
Forced out in 1947.
Wait, one sec. I know this video. I'll get the video for the YouTube link for it. I know this one. I've seen this video. It's very important, this one.
Hi, I'm Jay Hutton. You may recognise
Yeah, this is easily one of the best videos on this conflict from a completely impartial party. Yep, this is a really good video. Alright.
Ambassador, I will say frankly, I'm one of the people who thinks you should be expelled from this country, and I believe that it's to do with the policies of your state. If I was Jewish and had never stepped foot in Israel, I could claim citizenship there tomorrow, but 6 million people whose origins are in what you now call Israel, who were forced out in 1947 or 48, do not have that right. Isn't that part of the reason why the Palestinians are in dispute with Israelis? Because you deny them the right to return to their homes and to their land and to their villages, and that they have a legitimate claim, even under international law, to return, but you deny them that right. Why do you deny them that right? And why do you give that right to other people who have no connection whatsoever with the land, whether you call it Israel
That's
or
true, though.
Palestine? Why do you continue to seize land if you're serious about Oslo and the two-state solution, which under that agreement is land designated to be Palestinian land? 500,000 people, most of which has taken place since Oslo. You allow that to happen. Why do you allow it to happen? If you're serious about giving this land to the Palestinians, it's absolutely extraordinary. Are you not just taking us, Ambassador, for idiots? That you can say with a straight face, we're serious about peace, but while we're serious about peace, we're going to seize Palestinian land. And you expect the Palestinians to just sit back and do nothing about that. Now, you know what the Palestinian people have been asking for. Far less even than some people would ask for. Because I believe the whole apartheid system should be dismantled. But what they've asked for is to lift the siege of Gaza. Just to lift the siege of Gaza. Let them have an airport. Let them have ports. Let them not be dictated to by a government for whom they do not vote as to what can go in and out of their territories, whether they will have power, whether they will have clean water, whether they will have medicine. What makes you think you're allowed to have nuclear weapons and the fourth biggest army in the world and visit destruction on the people of Gaza, but they have no right?
The Irish know this all too well. This is why Hijab appealed to his ancestry, his Irish ancestry, Piers.
How do you justify that?
Yeah. All right.
How do you justify those double standards? Very lastly, Ambassador, people like Bishop Tutu, Nelson Mandela, and I would certainly describe your state as a apartheid state, with different laws for people depending on their race or religion. For example, at checkpoints going into the West Bank, there's a channel if you're Israeli or European, and there's a channel if you're Arab. Just because you're Arab. If you came into Dáil Éireann and they stopped you and said, are you Jewish? Oh no, sorry, you can't come in through the same entrance as Irish people or European people because you're Jewish, you would call that racism and apartheid. You practice that with your checkpoints and your military barriers and your apartheid wall. How can you justify?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We spent the last few days...
I mean, it's objectively true that you guys have laws for Israeli Jews and you have different laws like for that. Not just one or two, but many different sorts of laws about, what's the word? Preference or, you know. But to be honest, do you guys do you where you are? You know what I mean? You guys do you, but you're fucking with other people's land. What was that video I saw? The guy mentioned. Let me find that video. You tell me what this is. What's that fucking balls guy's channel where he literally goes up to Israelis and he talks to them about do you see Arabs as equal to Jewish people, but like an apartheid state where it's one rule for us, another rule for other people. Yeah, he asked questions. So you do have many various laws that are like one rule for us, another rule for you guys. One lane for you, another lane for that. I'm generalizing, yeah. And over the years I've heard different people say different things, but you have that guy, yeah. You know what I mean. But I'm not as interested about Israel being an apartheid state as I am illegal occupation. Illegal occupation. You do guys do you. China does China. Pakistan does Pakistan. India does India. We've lived. Sikhs have lived with India, determining what kind of marriage you have. A Sikh has So you can't have a Sikh. I think it changed recently. But you can, a Sikh marriage is kind of Hindu marriage. These people, it's their country, they have their laws, whatever. If you want to live there, you want to live there. But these are all fucking, like you say, red herrings that take away from just the objective fucking occupation of Palestine. And for me, it's as simple as that. If I take my anger as a Muslim out, all this stuff, I can never ever see Israel as not the aggressor. They're always going to be the aggressor to me. The occupier, always. You got Hamas, but they're a symptom. I've said, and I'm still going to say they're a symptom. They're the victims. You just radicalize them for the last fucking 60 years and think nothing. Yeah, man. Keep squeezing the Palestinians and they're going to do nothing. You keep squeezing, you're going to get fucking terrorism. Fuck it. Starfield. Fuck it. Fuck it. Every time this happens, people think this conflict has only been going on for the last week, 24 hours, 48 hours. They lose all context. This generation is like the revisionist history, contextless fucking generation. Show everyone the Twitter vid of person putting their ass on fire. Nah, I don't want to show that shit, man. I don't show that shit. They're lighting their farts on fire. That's what they were doing. They were lighting their fucking farts on fire. Alright. But yeah, that guy's channel is very informative. Very informative. He literally goes up to Israelis and asks them, is this how it is? Is this how it is? Yeah, Corey Gill Schuster's channel. Yeah. Yeah, let me just double check if that's the case. Corey Gill Schuster. Yep, the ball guy. Yep, Corey Gill Schuster. And I hear bits and bobs and I'm like, oh shit, I never knew about this. I never knew about that. Modern Elite. Shit. What do you think of suicide bombers? Oh my days. Religious Jews, why is it so difficult to convert to Judaism? Yeah, you guys aren't evangelical like Christians are. If anything, I feel like you guys would rather it be ethnic Jews that are Jewish. Shit, okay, yeah. Dude, his videos, I saw Jews that were darker than me. You never see those Jews on television. It's always the fair-skinned white European Jews. I saw a Jew that looked like me, looked like Zesef, or looked like Nandi. He talks to Jews, Israeli Arabs, and Palestinians. Yeah, he talks to them as well. He talks to them. Bruh. Mizrahi Jews, for the most part, most ethnically came from Morocco, Iraq, Yemen. Yeah. Oh, your ex-girlfriend was Yemenite. Damn. Nice. Nice. You ain't anti-dark skin like some Jews are. To be fair, we have that in Pakistani culture. They look down on dark-skinned Pakistanis. Like my auntie. She sabotaged her own son's marriage because she was scared that her kids were gonna be born dark. Arabs heard that as well. Yemenite. Damn, we're going from heavy topics to fucking fake idealism. Starfield. Present this unrealistic and unapproachable future sci-fi presents. We ever gonna have the Federation? It's all idealism. The united coalition of planets, the united this and united that. Our own UN conf is so fucking toothless, like Hijab said. We ain't got no future in this sci-fi future where racism is gone and ethnic cleansing is gone and dude, come on. Come on. God, come on, come to the foreground, man. I just want this shit to be end quickly. Bad. Sadly, it's going to escalate before it gets better. Seems like a ground incursion is imminent. See, this is what I mean.